thank you so much for joining me tonight for some Saturday night crafting. Firstly, I'm sorry I didn't have a midweek video. It was half term and the kids were home all week and it just didn't happen. I barely got time to myself, and it's been the Queen's Jubilee, so there's been loads on. It's just been hectic, crazy and fun. So I'm sorry I didn't make it on the midweek video, but we will be back up to speed next week. Tonight is going to be about making some fun cards and not using dies. However, I do use dies at the very end just to finish off my cards, but they're not necessary to make the pattern we're going to make. You don't need any dies to do these backgrounds. So if you're going on holiday and you want to take something and craft something nice and easy, then this is great because you can take a paper trimmer and quite minimal supplies. So getting started, I have gone and cut my cardstock down, well, my decorative paper, I've cut it down to 5 by 5 inches. And I'm just cutting and cutting and cutting. So I'm just cutting straight across the middle of every triangle and making smaller triangles. That is all I'm doing. Now you can see I'm doing it the wrong way here. If you just flip it around, it's much easier to cut. So I was trying to line up the point of my triangles in the top of my trimmer and cut down the middle, and then I twigged, oh my word, we just put the flat end against the flat end and cut that way. It's much easier. So we live and we learn. So don't do my first cutting style, go with the second cutting style. But all we're doing is just making a whole bunch of triangles. Now you can go as small as you like, you can stay as big as you like, whatever tickles your fancy. Now I'm going to make myself a little template. So I am just taking my scoring tool, not my cutting tool, and making some score lines. And then I'm going to draw them in. And for me, this is what I got to do. Otherwise my brain can't function. And I think, how did I cut this paper? And how am I going to place my triangles down? So all I'm doing here is just making myself a little template that I can see a lot easier. So I can remember how my triangles kind of need to go on my page to fit. Now I've got my little template, and then I've cut myself a background in a nice dark green, which you'll see in a second. I went a little wonky there. I was just pointing out my line was a bit off. And I've got my dark green cardstock that I'm going to use that kind of goes along with my paper, my decorative paper that I've got. And I'm going to cut my background to be 5.5 by 5.5 so that I can have a nice border between all my triangles. Now, I don't know much about math, and I know there's probably the logical, nice explanation why, but when you work with triangles and on the square, you can do all sorts of fun different patterns. You can make them, slightly different angles, and they will just look really cool together. You'll see what I mean. I do a few different cards just to kind of share with you, and that I haven't even explored the full extent. Now I use my Holtz ruler, which is a centering ruler. It's got 0 in the middle. It is the best ruler ever. It's so nice and easy. And I've just taken a pencil and drawn myself some pencil lines. If I don't do these little squares, I just mentally, visually cannot see where I've got to put my little triangles down so that I get a nice even border between all of them. For whatever reason, I just can't do it. So I have to draw my little lines on my card so I can see where I need to put my triangles. Apologize if you can hear construction work going on. We are also getting our garden done this weekend, and we are getting some patios put in, and we're very excited. I'll share some pictures when it's all done. We're really, really excited about it. So when I'm finished, I'm going to erase my pencil lines, which comes off really nice and easy, and then that's my sort of front panel done. Now this is the most basic version you can do. They're all flat, they're all nice and symmetrical the way we cut them. And they all go together because we use one paper pack. So that's the nice thing about it. You get to use up that paper pack. Now I've done the same on every card front. I have gone and made my little lines so I can know where I'm putting things. On this one I decided to change it up a bit. So I'm going to have some raised and some flat. And this kind of adds a bit of character and dimension to the card. It kind of, I don't know, it draws your eye in a bit more. I like the ones that have the raised bits on it. I've got these black foam squares from Craft Stash. They're fantastic for a nice dark card. They kind of blend in really well. If you have it go over the edge slightly, it's not so noticeable because it's dark just like the cardstock. I'll link them down below. They come in a variety of sizes, but I like this big size. I'd rather cut it down to what works for me rather than have the fiddly little bits. I find I never use them all up. So I'm just going ahead and applying on my foam squares onto the back, onto some of my triangles, and making them a bit more raised and a bit more popped up. Now there's so much you can do with just basic shapes like the triangle. You can cut them loads smaller and you could have a card filled with tiny little triangles. You could make some of them shimmer, so you could take a shimmer pen and you could add on a bit of glitter and shimmer to some of them. You'll see in a minute I'm going to do some dotted lines to make it look like I have stitched dies when they're just cut out triangles. Here we go. Here's my better version of my foam square application, where I just cut the square in half and made 2 triangles, and then it fit much nicer and was less effort than making the tiny little triangles. Anyways, I had a lot of fun with this. There's something satisfying about making these shapes. But I love how the look of the ones that have the raised triangles versus the flat triangle on the left. Now on this one, I went ahead and raised all of them. So I popped them all up. And this other one, I decided to go for some small triangles in there as well. So you can see I've got the 2 little triangles there and 2 little triangles there. And it just gives it a totally different look again when you've gone and changed up the size of your triangles. So I decided on the one that has all the popped up versions, that I was going to make it look a bit stitched. This is a new acrylic marker pen in my office from Arteza. And I love it. It's got a plastic nib to it, so it's not a felt nib, and I just find that the ink flows really well and the pigment is really strong. So when I've finished all these lines, they really pop off the card. And I got them in a set of 3, so I've got a medium, a large, and a small. So a chisel nib, a round nib, and then this plastic nib. I've never had a pen that's got a plastic top to it before, and it's so amazing. It just flows so nice. I'll have all these products down in the description box below for you, so if you want to find them or check them out, you can. There's loads of colors in these pens as well, which is so cool. So that's my little fake stitched layers, and with my Tim Holtz ruler, it's got all those lines going down the ruler, so all you have to do is line it up with the edge of your triangle, and you can get a nice straight, perfect, even border on every single triangle, which is really nice. That ruler, top notch. Can't fault it. I love it. I use it all the time. So once you've got all these bases done, you can go ahead, the toppers done, you can go ahead and glue them onto your bases. And I just cut my card bases to be the exact same size as my panel, so I could just go and line them up and stick them on. And that's the card base is done. So here are my 4 that I finished. They're all slightly different to each other, and they are all super fun. Really easy, very minimal effort. To finish off my cards, I pulled out some of the dies in my set, so you could use hole punches, you could cut them freestyle. I just thought circles worked really well. They kind of contrasted with the triangle and the square effect, and kind of made my sentiment pop off the card a bit more. So I die cut out a circle for my sentiment, and then I die cut out in the background these cool scalloped circles, which are new in my collection, in my stash, and I love them. They cut like butter. I'm like so impressed. They're going on everything. I love them. I wanted a set like this for so long, and then I saw that Creative Expressions came out with some, so I had to buy them. They were on the higher end of a price range, but they're worth every penny. I love them. So it comes with like a little inside bit that shares with you what you can make. And I used my stitch nestable dies from Craft Stash to go on the centers of my little circles. And I used this stamp set from Catherine Pooler for my thank you. I love sets like this that have just thank you in a whole bunch of different fonts and different sizes. It was brilliant. So I finished off the 2 cards, and then I have these 2 left to finish off, which I'll go ahead and do the same sort of thing on them. I'll use one of the scallop circles around the back and could add some more twine or ribbon, and that's kind of how I'll finish those off at a later date and time when I know what sentiment I need. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. Hope you had lots of fun, and I will see you on Wednesday. Take care. Bye.